Hello students, I am Dr. K. Sarojini Chakravarti, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Botany, Government Degree College, Khairtabad, Hyderabad. In this class, we are going to learn about the structure and functional features of an ecosystem. So in the last class, we have seen what is an ecosystem, what are the components of an ecosystem. What is the structure of an ecosystem? It is characterized by the composition and organization of biotic communities like producers, herbivores, consumers, with abiotic components like air, water, sunlight, inorganic and organic substances, and soil substrata. See, the whole thing, it makes the structure of an ecosystem. So now we'll see what are the major structural features of an ecosystem. The first one is species composition, second one is stratification, third one is quantity and distribution of non-living materials, fourth one is the range or gradient of conditions of existence. Now we'll see first one, species composition. Every ecosystem has its own type of species composition, which differs with other ecosystems. Like for example, the species composition means the species present in grassland ecosystem, it differs with pond ecosystem, and at the same time, the species of grassland ecosystem, it varies with forest ecosystem. Among the forest also, the tropical evergreen forest species composition is different, means the type of vegetation or the type of consumers or herbivores present in that type of forest ecosystem, it differs with tropical forest. So like this species composition, it varies among the ecosystems. Second one is stratification. What is stratification? The organisms in each ecosystem, it form one or more layers, that is nothing but strata, comprising a particular kind of species. For example, we'll take producers. So producers, it is one layer, okay, of an ecosystem. So this producers, suppose if it is in a grassland ecosystem, the producers here they are grasses, herbs. So they form one kind of species. Next level is consumers. So it forms the another kind of species. So like this, each layer in an ecosystem or each strata in an ecosystem, it has a particular kind of species. Next, third one is the quantity and distribution of non-living materials. Here, the non-living materials such as nutrients, minerals, and water, okay, it differs. Again, the nutrients and minerals present in one type of ecosystem, it differs with another type of ecosystem. Okay, so the type of nutrients or minerals present in the desert ecosystem may not found the same in forest ecosystem. So it differs. So that's why again there is a variation in the distribution and quantity of non-living materials, that is nutrients, minerals, etc. The last is the range or gradient of conditions of existence. So here conditions of existence means temperature, sunlight, air. So all this comes under this. Okay. So the temperature, it varies. In one ecosystem, desert ecosystem, the range of temperature is different when you compared with tundra ecosystem. So it is completely a colder region. So like this, there is a variation in temperature. At the same time, there is a variation in light. There is a variation in water. There is a variation in air. So like this, there is a change or variation in the ecosystem in terms of conditions of existence. Next, the functional features of an ecosystem are trophic structure, first one. Second one is ecological pyramids. Third one is energy flow in an ecosystem. So in this class, we are going to see in detail about trophic structure. So what is a trophic structure of an ecosystem? So it is defined as a producer-consumer arrangement and the interaction with population size. Okay, so in a simpler way, if you want to say what is a trophic structure or a trophic level, each food level is known as trophic level. Okay, each food level is known as trophic level. And the amount of living matter at each trophic level at a given time is known as standing crop or standing biomass. In an ecosystem, various trophic levels are connected through food chain. So what is a food chain? The transfer of food energy from the producers through a series of organisms, herbivores to carnivores to decomposers. With repeated eating and being eaten is known as food chain. So here we can see clearly two types of food chains. One is in grassland ecosystem, another one is pond ecosystem. Okay, here grass, the producers are eaten by the primary consumer, that is herbivores, grasshoppers, which are eaten by frog, and frog is eaten by snake, snake is eaten by hawk. So this is a food chain, and each level is a food level is a trophic level. When you come to pond ecosystem, phytoplanktons are the producers, which are eaten by water fleas. Water fleas are eaten by small fish. Small fish are eaten by large fish, and large fish are eaten by tuna. Now we see different types of food chain. So the different types of food chain are, first one is grazing food chain. So is a grazing food chain. Here again always the grazing food chain starts with the producers. The primary producers are always green plants if terrestrial in a terrestrial ecosystem. The producers are eaten by herbivores. Herbivores are eaten by carnivores. And secondary consumers are eaten by tertiary consumers. And ultimately when all die, they will be decomposed by decomposers. So this is a grazing food chain in a terrestrial ecosystem. So the grazing food chain in a pond ecosystem, means in a water body, how it will be. Here, the phytoplanktons are the producers. The producers are eaten by zooplanktons, the primary consumers. The primary consumers are eaten by the secondary consumers, small fish. Small fish are eaten by the tertiary fish, that is consumers, that is carnivorous fish. So this is regarding grazing food chain in a pond ecosystem. The second type of food chain is detritus food chain. So what is a detritus food chain? So here it doesn't start with a living organism. It starts with a dead organic matter. Means whatever living components or living organisms have died. Okay, so here we'll take an example of dead leaves. Okay, when leaves are become dried, they'll be fallen, okay, on the ground, and they become dead. So those dead leaves, okay, so these dead leaves are eaten by woodlouse, means detrivorous organisms. Okay, so the detrivorous organisms, woodlouse, are eaten by blackbird. So the food of our blackbird is woodlouse. So for food of woodlouse is dead leaves, not the fresh leaves. Okay, so detritus food chain always starts from dead organic matter, and it passes through microorganisms to detrivorous organisms feeding on detritus, their predators and decomposers. The ecosystem exhibiting detritus food chain are less dependent on direct solar energy, whereas grazing food chain directly depends on the solar energy, because the primary producers, that is the green plants, require sunlight to prepare their own food for the process photosynthesis. So they're dependent on solar energy. But here when you come to detritus food chain, they are not completely dependent on that solar energy. But these depend chiefly on the influx of organic matter produced in another ecosystem. Okay, such type of food chain operates in the decomposing accumulated litter in a temperate forest. Okay, so the best example for this is mangrove forest. Okay, so detritus food chain is mostly seen in mangrove ecosystem, that is estuarians. Okay, here mangrove leaf fragments are acted by saprophytes, that is fungi and bacteria, which are colonized by algae and are eaten by detritus consumers, that is crabs, shrimps, nematodes, mollusks, etc. Okay, so these are the detritus consumers. So when leaves are fallen, they are eaten by or consumed by saprophytic fungi or bacteria, which are colonized by algae, and these are eaten by detritus feeders, that is crabs, shrimps, etc. And these are in turn eaten by minnows and small carnivorous fish, which again becomes the food for large fish and birds. So this is regarding detritus food chain. Next, food web. What is a food web? A network of food chains together and where they are interconnected with each other at different trophic levels are is known as a food web. Okay, so here many food chains, they are interconnected with each other. So this network of food chains is known as a food web in a simpler way. So here we can see a food web in an aquatic ecosystem. So here you can see many food chains, and these many food chains are interlinked. They are connected with each other. Okay, so why food chain and food webs are important? What is the significance? Food chains and food webs play a very significant role in the ecosystem because most important functions of energy flow and nutrient cycles takes place through them. This is the first one. The second one is food chains help in maintaining and regulating the ecological balance. Okay, if there are no food chains, there is no maintenance and regulation of ecological balance. There will be imbalance in an ecosystem. Suppose if producers are there, when green plants, if green plants are not eaten by the herbivores, so there is what happens, there is more number of existence of more number of producers, and there is completely absence of herbivores, which leads to the death of the secondary consumers, because secondary consumers requires the primary consumers, that is herbivores, as their food. If herbivores are missing, there is no food for secondary consumers. So there is an imbalance. So that's why food chain helps in maintaining and regulating the ecological balance. And last is food chains show a unique property of biological magnification of several pesticides and heavy metals which are non-biodegradable in nature. Such chemicals increase in concentration at each successive trophic level. Okay, suppose, so what does it mean? If if it is completely, it is not an if the food is not biological magnification is it is maintained by food chain. Okay, if there is no food chain, then there is excessive accumulation of these heavy metals and pesticides. So that's why food chain they are helpful in maintaining the ecosystem or ecological balance. So in the next class, we'll go with the second and third functional features of an ecosystem. Okay, that is ecological pyramids and energy flow in an ecosystem.